some things you think Spencer has done better with 5 games under his belt that he's getting better at that you're seeing with his experience?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, with more experience, the game starts to slow down. I think his decision making, for the most part, has been really good. Done a good job taking care of the ball. And there's a lot of areas he needs to improve and continue to work at, and we do it every day. But from a process standpoint, like I've said many times, his process has been so good, and he's playing better and better.
When it comes to like avoiding sacks and like negative plays in that way, like, what has he done well in that department?
I think number one is athleticism showing up. So, like I've said, the 4.95 or whatever it is on paper is not what he plays to, and he's made some big plays, some explosive plays for us with his feet, and that's been a big part of it. He's done a good job with his hot, and sight awareness when protection breaks down and where we need to get the ball out when we get forced into hots, and I think he's done a good job of feeling the rush and getting rid of the ball.
You referenced this in, earlier this season, but like having been with Kellen for so long, how do you notice him kind of adjusting his offenses as the season progresses? Do you look at what his personnel does well, or breaking his own tendencies, or whatever?
Yeah, I think in the time I've been with Kellen, when you look at that time span, we're always evolving, we're always changing, and we're always trying to fit our personnel. It's not about plays, it's about players. So how do we get the guys that can change the game in the best position to change the game in a positive way for us?
Sack evasion in general, like when someone's coming straight at you and you got to make a miss, is that something that you coach? Is there footwork that you teach in that situation, or is a lot of it just?
No, we drill. We spend a lot of time and give Scotty Tolzien a lot of credit. Scotty does a great job with the guys, working the drills, and you see him every day, doing the different pocket movement and those type of things. Obviously, it's as we stay, at the position, you want guys that are instinctual players that feel it, because the guys that feel it can play faster. You can drill it, but it only helps to a certain extent, and then the player's instincts have to take over when you get in the heat of the battle.
How do you feel about the evolution of Kendre and Alvin rotating, complementing one another?
It's been good. Obviously, it's given us a little punch to our run game. I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago. It reminds me a little bit of when we had Zeke and Tony Pollard. One guy a little bit more of a bigger thumper type downhill guy, the other guy more of a slasher, speed and space guy. They're both such unique styles in the way they play. I think it's a good change up for us.
Was that sort of intended even before the game that, not that you predicted that you'd be protecting a lead in the fourth quarter, but that would be a role for Kendrick Miller, sort of that closer run of the clock role, or was that partly because of Allen's availability?
Well, I think a little bit of both. Obviously, they're both really good runners, and they both can do things well. And, sometimes it's one guy's feeling fresher than the other. Maybe a guy's had a lot of carries or got banged up a little bit, and it's like, hey, go ahead, let's put the other guy in because he's fresher and feeling it better. Or some guys are, sometimes a guy's getting hot, and you just feel him. It's like, hey, let's keep feeding him.
In any case, there's a lot of trust that obviously I assume goes in with that, and is that an illustration of the trust that Kendrick Miller has earned sort of with you guys?
Sure, I think, since we've gotten here, Kendrick's done a good job. Obviously, I think he's got a lot of areas he can improve in, but if you look at the way he's played the last few weeks, his trend line, is going in a great direction.
I think the kind of common refrain for us when we're talking about offensive linemen is if you're not talking about them, doing a pretty good job. Does that apply with Kellen Banks? Like when you're studying it more closely than we are?
I think there's a lot to say. I say it's been quite quiet over there on that side, and that's a good thing, when you talk about O-linemen. Like I said before, his maturity, his ability to invest in his process week in and week out. Really been pleased with where he's at this point of the season and where I think he'll continue to go.
I know it's been discussed a lot already, but that 87-yarder to Rashid Shaheed, getting the top off of the defense finally, what does that do for the offense going forward?
Well, obviously, like I've said, we're always looking for ways to generate explosive plays, and we've got to do a better job. We're not generating nearly enough explosives week in and week out. We've got to become more consistent in that to become the type of offense we want. But for us to get that opportunity to see Sheed run the route the way he ran it, to see Spence make the throw. You watch the protection up front. You watch the little things that maybe people don't see. It's Alvin coming off the fake and just getting a little chip that maybe buys Spence a little bit more time. There's a lot of things that play into that just, for our guys goes to show that if we get all 11 guys, contributing, and we're gonna have opportunity to do some really special things.
For your purposes, obviously, it's different in the stat sheet, but when you do kind of go for a shot play and it results in a pass interference, do you count that as kind of an explosive?
Yeah, I do. You got to count them because, I mean, if when you put people in those type of situations where because let's be honest, these defensive guys, they also know when they get torched, they're going to try and create a pass interference because they'd rather give up a spot foul than to give up an 80-yard touchdown. Now, if the ball's in the end zone or something like it may be a little bit different, but yes, that's part. It's not going to show up in an NFL statistic, but for us, we do. We calculate those, and okay, well, hey, we had 8 explosives, and we also had 2 that were not counted that will, in our mind, are 2 more explosive we generated.
For players in Taysom and Foster situations, how long does it typically take, or how many practices before they could have their full complement of what they normally do on offense? Is there a big factor in what slows or speeds up that timeline?
Yeah, those guys are in week 6 of training camp right now, or day 6 of training camp? No, I don't know that you can put that specifically on a certain time frame for all players. I don't think you can generalize that. Excuse me. I think it's specific to the player. I'll say this about those 2 guys, and the guys in our locker room know if you watch the way those guys worked all off season through training camp when the other guys were practicing, the time that they put in their rehab to prepare themselves for this opportunity. I think everybody in the building feels really good about the work that those guys put in to put themselves in a position to play quickly once they were cleared. So obviously to get those 2 guys back, I think helps us, and we're excited to have them.
Taysom had said something last week. He was like, remember, we've only had 3 practices together as players and coaching staff. How much does that change things? Obviously you've gotten to know them over the past off season or whatever, but as a player on the field, you really haven't had that time.
Well, it's, especially when you're a new staff, because you can watch tape and you say, okay, this player is this, and watching the tape, and obviously Taysom's got a long track record, so does Foster, of tape. So, but until you get them and they actually are running plays in the system, you might, have some ideas. That doesn't work quite the way we want it to work. Hey, this is working really well. Can we build off of this? So it, kind of allows us to go down different paths.
I was going to add, related to that, we've seen Taysom in this specific role quite a lot, kind of similar to what we've seen in the past on it. But so there's the built-in reps with the guys he's played with before, but when you're doing that for the first time in week 5, you haven't been able to do it in training camp. So do you have to, as a team, even bust the rust off of that sort of?
Sure. I mean, there's, maybe not for the players. There's a little bit of angst as a coach because sometimes you get a rep or 2 at practice. But let's be honest, this time of year, the amount of reps you're getting live at full speed is not. It's not a great number of reps because just where you are in this point of the year. So a lot of walkthroughs and things like that. So you're getting 1 or 2 reps at something, and then you're calling it to be run on a Sunday, and you need it to work. So there's a little bit of a okay, here we go. It's what you'd like to have joint practices for, and preseason games and things like that.
Along those same lines, what's it like, I guess you're working on your second one now, crafting a game plan when you have Taysom compared to when you don't have one guy who can be moved around in so many ways?
It's a fun challenge because obviously you're looking at ways to not make everything new, but yet you're looking at ways to implement somebody into a game plan that can help you win in many different ways. So it's been fun. It's gives you a little chance to be creative on some things that we haven't been able to do, but you also can't get away from what you do on offense and lose focus of the system.
What do you put to see out of the Mike Vrabel defense on Sunday?
Yeah, that's a good, fundamentally stout physical defense, and you look at their numbers, they verify it. They're very stout against the run. They're physical. Haven't been with Milton last year, obviously, up front, know what type of player he is. They do a good job. The 2 corners in the back end do a really good job. They got 2 young safeties that are good players. So they're going to, line up and they're going to come at you. And that's the way Mike's, always been. They're physical. They're going to be really, really sound. You're not going to get a lot of free plays. Execution's going to be at a premium.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's, yes, it is, it's surprising me, him, and everyone. And like I said, we all go through some tough times right now, and he's in the middle of some adversity. And I believe in him, and he's going to battle through it. And like I told him, and, when we have our special teams meetings start the week every week, we kind of put what we think our keys to be successful in the game are. And, for us, some of the things we talked about. And then I just went back and I pulled some clips of us from OTAs or from training camp for a bunch of positions of like, here go the fundamentals that we need to be fundamentally sound in doing, and here's you guys doing it. Here's where we need to go. This is how we're going to go win this game. And, in all honesty, I pulled one of his in the preseason game, after he hit the long field goal against Denver, 50 yards. Like, I could see his swagger after he hit the kick. And I told him, this is the Blake Grupe I need back. This is who we all believe in, and we know who you are, so this is what we need back.
Maybe relevant to this, but even just an overall thought on the change, the rule change when it comes to field goal kicking balls, right? There was like a change there.
Yes.
Live ball, everything happened. What impact have you seen from that? Maybe relevant to Blake, but also just.
Honestly, I don't think there's been really any impact on that rule change. All it did was it made the ball boys' job easier. They didn't have the hour before the game started. They have all week to be able to do it. So I think it's made it where they have more time, so the K-balls are even better of how you want them to be.
It seemed like Blake ended up on the ground. I think after 2 of those kicks, is there a little more pressure maybe on the kicks that you wanted to see? Like, what did you see there?
Oh, you're talking about on the field goal protection. Yeah, yes, there was. We addressed that. Honestly, I don't think that has anything to do with the miss, but we need to be better in the protection there.
Do you congratulate or condemn when it comes to the tackle on the field goal? I mean, on the kick return.
Yeah, look, I mean, we don't want him to have to do that, So I just honestly wanted to make sure he wasn't hurt before I would go and congratulate him. But again, I just think that, his effort, giving up his body and that sort of thing, and, like, he cares like the rest of the guys do, so, but we don't want him making any more tackles.
Does Charlie's presence kind of factor into the room? Like, you'll see sometimes other teams bring in a kicker when the kicker struggles, like, to have a competition, but you guys already have 2 kickers here. How does that dynamic work?
That's a good question. I'll be honest. I don't know the answer to that. I've never asked Blake how that plays into his psyche. I don't think that affects him. Maybe it does. I've never asked that question, so I don't want to give you an answer that I really don't know. Well, unfortunately, Jonas only played on special teams in game 1 for us, and then since he became the starting safety, unfortunately, good for him and good for our defense. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to showcase those skills on special teams for us. Yeah, I mean, listen, it was. It's interesting because when you go through the draft process, right? It's usually the offense or defense really likes a guy, right? And then the special teams coaches really like a guy, and it's rare to find a guy that both phases love, and he was definitely one of those guys that we both loved.
It was tough to tell live. Did Stallberg get his hand on? I think it was the second punt.
He did. Yes, he did. He got a piece of it. He tipped it. So, unfortunately, it just didn't get a chance to get enough of it to go backwards, and he knew situationally right there, he didn't want to risk running into the punter and giving him a first down. So,
Which guy or guys are getting more opportunities because Jonas is not on special teams anymore?
yeah, I think it's been a combination of guys depending on who the actives have been each week, right? I think you take a look at a Jordan Howden or an Ugo Amadi, right? Or you take a look at when Rajon Wright has been up. I think those guys from a DB perspective, it's kind of a similar situation, right? Like Quincy Riley had made some good special teams plays early, and now his role is increased defensively, so it's limited. Really, he's only playing on one phase of special teams for us right now. So different guys are getting opportunities that they got to go make the most of.
When it comes to the near block punt, if they make contact with the ball, there are a lot of contact with the punter too, right?
Yes, sir. They are. Yeah. That's why when you see the official go like that, that lets them know not to throw the flag for it. It's a fine line, right? Because right there, it's if he knows he hit it or he can get it, and we're good. But it's one of those where we're near midfield. Is it going to give him a first down? I don't. So I agreed with his decision. It was a heck of a rush.
How do you feel like we're
after those 5 games?
Yeah, listen, I think Kai has had some ups and downs. I think that he has had some good punts, and then he's had some where he wants some of those back, and like it's a process for him of figuring it out. Like you went through to 3 preseason games where in training camp where he was in a battle to see if he was going to become the guy, right? And now it's into the season, and you're going into the routine for him and trying to limit. He wants to get better and he wants to improve, but not over kicking, and trying to keep that schedule. But I think he's developing, and I think he has a future. All good? Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.